What is up, ladies and gentlemen? But most of all, you ladies out there, thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg. The NBA season is back. Split cow! We are about to start the 2022-2023 NBA season, and I could not be more excited, and I know most of you out there feel the same way. Not only that, but I also think this could be the year that Scarlett Johansson finds out that I exist. And we got so much to talk about when it comes to the NBA season because we had a wild offseason, an offseason for the ages. We had trades, we had free agent signings, we had firings, we had suspensions, we had players demanding that their coach and GM were fired only to stay with that same team. And there's so much to talk about and so much to discuss. And we look forward to the season because there's no clear-cut favorite. There's no clear-cut favorite for MVP. There's no clear-cut favorite for the championship. And that's fantastic because as NBA fans, that's why we want to watch. We want to watch for the parity. We want to see what teams are better than we expected, what teams are worse than we expected. So today, what we are going to talk about here is the teams that I think will make the NBA Finals. I'm going to talk about a couple teams that I think are overrated. And I also am going to talk about who I think will take home the MVP trophy this year. We're just going to build up and we're going to hype up for this upcoming season. So, buckle in. First, please take a second to like and subscribe to the channel. With the start of the new NBA season, we are headed for 500 subscribers. And we're going to have a banger of a season and we're going to grow like crazy and we're going to grind like crazy. And I can't wait for this season. And we're going to talk about a lot of teams. I'm not just talking about the Lakers every night. I'm not just talking about the Celtics every night. I am going to be talking about a lot of teams here on the pod. We're going to talk about a lot of players. And I'm really excited. I'll be interacting with any of y'all. So, and by the way, when I put my predictions in here, would love to hear what some of y'all think. But let's get straight into it. Let's get straight into it. Tomorrow or tonight when you're watching this, the Celtics and Sixers open up the NBA season. Two teams that are going to be juggernauts in the Eastern Conference. Let's start with who I think will win MVP. Now, let me read the odds because I think this is interesting. The top 10 guys in odds, and this is in order as far as betting odds. I think this is according to FanDuel. But Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Giannis, KD, Joker, Nikola Jokic, I call him Joker, Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, Ja, Kawhi, and LeBron comes in at number 10. This is a heck of a list. It's really crazy how deep the NBA is. And some of these guys that, the fact that LeBron's number 10 on an MVP ladder is just wild heading into a season. And Steph Curry, after the season he came off, number 7. I'm not going to talk as much about from the gambling side, like what I think are good bets. I'm going to talk a little more from who I think is going to win it. And so I'm not going with a favorite this year, but I am going to go with a guy who I think has been right on the cusp of winning an MVP these last few years. And I think finally has an opportunity to break through with a full year with his new teammate. And I'm going with Joel Embiid. I think Joel Embiid is going to have a season. I think he led the NBA in scoring last year. He came first or second. I'm pretty sure he came first. And he was one of those guys that kind of had the narrative, did he get snubbed? Could he have won MVP? And I think going into this year, he's going to have another dominant season. I think the Sixers are going to be a very good regular season basketball team. And I think Joel Embiid comes home with the MVP trophy. Now, I think a couple of the guys who I don't think are good bets out there, I don't think Luka Doncic, I can't believe he's the number 1 ranked guy. I spent a lot of time debating between whether I would have Embiid or Giannis as my MVP for this year. I simply went with Embiid just because he hasn't won one yet, and I think that the records between the Bucks and the Sixers will be very similar regular season-wise. So I think if the records are similar, both of their statistics are through the roof, I think Embiid will get the the voters will lean Embiid. And I think guys like Jokic probably won't have a good chance to win 3 straight MVPs because that puts you in very rarefied air. So I think that'll be tough. I think Jaylen Brown's going to be too good this year for Tatum to have a chance. And then I just don't think Kawhi and LeBron are going to play enough games to really compete in that. But Luka Doncic is an interesting one. So in my opinion, and you're clearly going to hear what I think about the Mavericks here. I don't think the Mavericks are going to win enough games for Luka to be in that discussion. My guess is they're going to be somewhere around like the 5 seed, and I don't think that'll be enough wins to win MVP for Luka, especially if Embiid and Giannis are fighting for the 1st or 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. But let's get in to the teams, because this is what we're truly here for, and I think the truly fun part of this discussion. I've went back and forth with many teams, and to be honest, even before I got on here, I wasn't 100% sure who I was going to pick. But let's get straight to it. In the Western Conference, there are some incredible basketball teams this year. You have the Warriors, only got better this offseason as a couple of their young guys are getting better. James Wiseman coming back. They extended some of their guys. I think the Warriors are going to be fantastic. The Clippers, bringing Kawhi, Paul George back, bringing John Wall. You have guys like Norman Powell and Robert Covington on the roster that weren't here before Kawhi and Paul George got hurt. They're going to be fantastic. The Suns potentially took a step back this offseason. You have the Pelicans and Timberwolves as young teams that could be really interesting. Do the Mavericks compete again? What happens to the Grizzlies with Jaren Jackson Jr. hurt for a lot of the season? Or not for the start of the season. But none of those teams are my picks. My pick is right up here. It's the Denver Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are finally going to break through. The return of Jamal Murray. The return of Michael Porter Jr., hopefully. The trade for Ish Smith and, what was the other name? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And then they got Bruce Brown in the offseason. I think that this team is going to see such a dramatic improvement. We're going to see Jokic. The thing that's so important, I think, when we're talking about this is seeding does matter when you're talking about the NBA playoffs. And Nikola Jokic is a man who doesn't miss games. And I think that's really important as far as seeding goes. So I think they're going to have a really high seed. And Jokic is good enough to where he can give Jamal Murray time to get reacclimated to the NBA basketball, live games, live reps, things like that. So to me, I am picking the Denver Nuggets out of the Western Conference. Let me read their roster for you real quick. Jamal Murray, KCP, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, which a lot of you forget is on the team, Nikola Jokic, Ish Smith, Bruce Brown, Bones Highland, who's exciting, Jeff Green, and DeAndre Jordan. Now, I do have to admit something. I was about as high on Jeff Green as anybody in the world when he first started with the Celtics. I'm starting to think he might not be the guy that I thought he was going to be. I'm starting to think I might have been wrong on that one because I really thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer. I was like, there are nights where Jeff Green would be like, is this guy like a top 5 player in the NBA? And then like the next 3 games, he'd have like a combined 4 points. And you're like, is Jeff Green hurt? What's going on with him? So starting to think I was wrong about Jeff Green, but I'm back on the bandwagon. This year he's gonna ball out for the Nuggets. In the Eastern Conference, we got some dogs this year. We got my Boston Celtics. We got the Philadelphia 76ers. The Miami Heat are not a team to sleep on. The Cleveland Cavaliers got better, adding Donovan Mitchell. The Raptors got older. I know I'm forgetting a couple. Oh, the Nets added Royce O'Neal, TJ Warren, and Ben Simmons. But none of those teams are my picks. As you can see from the jerseys behind me, these are my picks. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Denver Nuggets will play in the NBA Finals. And you might say, but the Milwaukee Bucks didn't add anyone in this offseason. And that is true. They added Joe Ingles, who actually is a good player. We'll see how he looks coming off the ACL injury, or Achilles, I can't remember which one. But the Bucks didn't make a lot of moves. But to me, if Brook Lopez, if Chris Middleton, if Giannis can stay healthy in the regular season and they go into the postseason healthy, I think that's the juggernaut. And that's simply because I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is that special and that great. Now, the thing that'll be interesting to watch this season is you're going to have a lot of the bottom teams tanking. And it's something we've talked about with guys like Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson coming out in the draft. So you're going to have the bottom few teams in the league are going to be really bad. There are going to be games to win and an opportunity for teams to make the playoffs. Now, there's a couple teams that I think will have a drop-off. 3 of them to be exact. Actually, 2 of them a drop-off. 1 of them I think will also suck. The Lakers are so heavily talked about in the media and consistently are high when you're talking about gambling odds. Any team with LeBron James is going to be there. I do not think this team is going to be very good. I think we're going to have another year where we blame Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, hopefully he stays healthy, but I just think realistically, I don't think LeBron will play enough games to be able to carry this team. I'm not even sure they'll make the playoffs. My guess is they're in the play-in, and I don't know that they'll make it. In the Eastern Conference, I think we will see a drop-off from the Miami Heat. They didn't really lose a lot of guys. They lost PJ Tucker, which I think is significant, but they kind of stayed stagnant when a lot of the Eastern Conference got better. The Celtics added Malcolm Brogdon. We talked about Sixers, Cavs added a lot of guys. The Raptors are getting better. There's a lot of young teams in the Eastern Conference that I'm starting to like. The Magic got some nice young players. If Fultz can stay healthy. Paulo Banchero that they just drafted, number 1. Franz Wagner, whatever you want to call him. Nice young players. So they got a nice young roster. I think even teams like the Magic are going to be frisky. They're going to be frisky. And so I think it's going to be harder for the Heat to win games. Now, I think they'll still make the playoffs, but I just don't think they'll be competing for that 1 seed like they did last year. And then I think the Phoenix Suns are going to have a considerable drop-off as well with all their drama in the offseason and the way they lost in the playoffs last year. I think the Phoenix Suns are going to struggle this NBA season. Now, the teams that I almost picked to make the finals, let's talk about that right here before we hop off. I am someone who has talked very negatively about Doc Rivers, and we all know James Harden has struggled mightily in the playoffs. But I was daggum close to picking the Sixers to make the NBA Finals. And to be honest, I'm not sure why. I just have this weird feeling that I think this could be the Sixers' year. They added PJ Tucker. James Harden's there for another year, and he seems really dedicated. Took a little less money, though I'm not giving a guy a ton of credit for taking, $35 million instead of 40. You're still paid. And Lil Baby looks like he gave him enough money to make up for that. But I think the Sixers are finally locked in, and I think that this could be their year to make the NBA Finals, or at least make the Eastern Conference Finals. So keep your eyes open for them. We're obviously going to talk a lot about the Celtics. We're going to talk a lot about the Warriors. The Warriors were the other team that I almost picked, but I just think it's hard to repeat. And I know the Warriors are a team that's done it, but I think with how much better the rest of the league's gotten and some of the problems the Warriors had this offseason, I think there's a chance that Draymond gets traded or there's something that happens there. So I think, and again, we're picking before the season starts is really just a shot in the dark. Guys are going to get hurt. There's going to be guys traded. So this is a shot in the dark. So any of you Warriors fans out there that are like, how can you not pick the Warriors? This is just me having fun talking about a team that I think is going to be really good. I think the Nuggets are going to be really good. Ultimately, my expectation before this year is that the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the NBA, and I would pick them to win the NBA Finals. Now, if you go on FanDuel, you could bet the Nuggets and get pretty good odds on that. So if you're someone that likes betting that, not a bad bet. I kind of like the Nuggets. But we are so excited for the season. Tomorrow, we are watching the Celtics, Sixers, and then the Golden State Warriors and Los Angeles Lakers. And it's just going to be a great night of basketball. It's going to be a great season of basketball. I can't wait to talk about it. I can't wait to spend it with y'all. Please take a second to like and subscribe. Cyborg out.